Okay, President Trump is headed to Walter Reed Medical Center today for a, quote, routine yearly checkup. But this will be his third Walter Reed visit this year. The last one was just back in April. The president described that visit as a, quote, annual physical examination. A few months later, the White House said he was diagnosed with a benign condition known as chronic venous insufficiency. It also blamed bruising on his hands that you can see there in that image. They said that it was due to frequent handshaking and also the use of aspirin. The White House has described today's visit as a yearly checkup, but President Trump described it as a semi-annual physical annual checkup. So let's bring in CBS News chief medical correspondent, Dr. Jon LaPook, to talk more about this. So what's your take on what is happening here and what is a typical exam routine for somebody of the president's age?
You know, for anybody, as they get older, you're going from head to toe. So as you get older, what are the things that can go wrong, right? Things with the heart, things with the brain, and then cancer. So you want to do screening for all of that. And really, it's about the relationship between the person and the healthcare professional, and you hope that you go from head to toe. It's called a review of system. Any problem with your head, ears, eyes, nose, and throat, any swelling in your neck, any shortness of breath, then you go all the way down, and then you do a complete physical exam. And then as you get older, you may, especially in the president, you know, who's somebody who in the past we know there's been some calcification in the arteries of his heart. We know he's talking about the venous insufficiency in the legs. That you want to be careful and you want to make sure you do follow-up exams, you know, and make sure that the function of everything you can mention that you can possibly measure is okay. I have to just say there was something when I just went back over the April numbers, and there was something back then that stuck out to me. I never said it on air, but I'll say it now. The PSA, the prostate-specific antigen, which is a measure of a protein that's made in the prostate, normally is less than 4. His was listed as 0.10, which is extremely low. It can happen, but it's extremely low in somebody who has their prostate and is not taking prostate medication. I actually checked back then with a urologist, and he said, yeah, that's unusual. I just wonder if that was a typo. I mean, it's good that it's low. When it's too high, it can be inflammation or it can be a problem in terms of prostate cancer, which of course men are susceptible as they get older. The other thing that I'm always curious about as I see these reports is they give you the medications. They don't give you, and it was true here, there were some heart medications, aspirin. They didn't say whether it was a baby aspirin, is it a full aspirin, what's the dose of the medicine that they're getting, and is this the entire list of all medications that the president is taking?
Yeah, I mean, I know that the people who will sometimes see the president's medical report say, well, you know, this doesn't look accurate because, you know, he eats, you know, McDonald's and steaks. But I always say, well, Winston Churchill had a terrible diet and lived to be in 90s and was, you know, chronically obese. Some people are just, that's how that genetics play a role in this, right?
And he was overweight. You know, technically overweight is like, you know, 25 to 30 BMI, according to that. It's very hard. I usually start with this. Not as a physician, you know, you're sitting from the outside and you're trying to figure out, it's like a detective. Well, wait a second, they didn't mention this. I noticed they mentioned that his echocardiogram had a normal ejection fraction. The ejection fraction is when the heart beats, what percentage of the blood goes out, and they said it was normal. And I would have loved to have seen a blood test called a BNP, a B-type natriuretic protein, which is a reflection of if there's any problem in terms of heart function other than that what could be measured by an echocardiogram. So I'm always looking for, did they do a bone densitometry? It's not necessarily routine, but as you get older, men, not just women, but men can have osteoporosis or osteopenia, which is too thinning of the blood. And I'd like to know that. You don't want the president to fall and break a bone. So, you know, there are a lot of things, a lot of questions you want to know that are not there.
And you and I were talking earlier, we saw that photo, we've seen several photos of the president's ankles, and they look to be very sort of swollen. And they say that he has this
chronic venous insufficiency.
Is that the cause? Could that cause those ankles to swell?
That could cause it. There are other things that can cause it in terms of problems pumping blood out of the heart and other things, including a blockage of the veins as they come back up. But they said that, you know, they did an evaluation and that's their diagnosis. These are you know, people who are well trained and doing hopefully an extensive exam. You know, the heart pumps blood out. So it's pumped out, and it goes down to your ankles. How does it get back up? It gets back up because there's no pump. It's really interesting. When you walk, the muscles contract. When they contract, the blood gets pushed upstream against gravity. Why does it just fall back down? Series of one-way valves. And as you get older, those valves become a little weakened, and so the blood falls right back down. So you do see, some swollen ankles in people as they get older. The hand, he's on aspirin. I'd love to know the dose. That could be from frequent handshaking. It could be from other things, too.
I just also think that Harry Truman said, that he had no idea that FDR was as sick as he was, even though he was the vice president of the United States. So, we never know. Even we're that far away. We're talking about a former vice president who's like, I had no idea. I didn't know he was in a wheelchair.
I'm shocked that there's gambling
exactly.
in Casablanca.
Shock.
Anyway.
Dr. Jon LaPook, always good to have you. Welcome to Studio 55.
Yeah, it's
Come on back.
here.
You like what we did with the place?
I love what you've done with the green screen.
It's awesome. Thank you, John. Appreciate you as always.